You've seen the headlines, but does it live up to the hype? The Tesla Model Y is topping sales charts worldwide thanks to its simply incredible finance incentives across the globe, such as jaw-dropping leasing rates and low 0% APR finance options. So whilst we've identified that Tesla has made the best-selling car even more affordable than ever before, what really matters is the question you're waiting to be answered. Is the Tesla Model Y really the ultimate family SUV? Now, I'm not just any reviewer here. I actually put my money where my mouth is, and I used my own money to buy this vehicle just a couple of months ago. And I previously owned a Tesla Model 3 for over 3 years. However, I deliberately chose this Tesla Model Y over the refreshed Tesla Model 3 purely for the expectation that this would ultimately be the best family car I could buy in 2024. Over my near 10-week ownership period, as my sole family car, I pushed this Tesla Model Y rear-wheel drive to its limits, from storage capabilities to the great family road trip, putting pressure on stuff like range and charging speed for the very first time. Therefore, in this very video, I just want to highlight all the areas that this car has to offer that ultimately makes it the ultimate family SUV. From passenger space to drivability, charging speed review, but last but not least, just the quirks that make this car a notch over its competitors. So if this video sounds like an interesting insight, do hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Right, let's get deep into the 2024 Tesla Model Y family car review. So kickstarting with deal breaker number 1. Passenger space. Personally, I have 2 wonderful munchkins, and you could say that they're in their booster seat stage, should we say. The Model 3 I had before this works fine for young kids, but as you can see here, the space could be just that little bit better. And it's hard as a father to actually accept that your kids are growing up ridiculously fast, and the additional width and legroom is therefore a welcome addition with the Model Y upgrade, and particularly for adult passengers too. And rather than just working fine with the Model 3, it's quite evidently more spacious for all passengers, but notably more comfortable for even the driver thanks to this new seat design. Even the rear seats recline, which is useful for these longer trips. To activate this, you just have to remember to give this button a bit of pushback force, because the first time I actually pressed it, the seat actually gave me a jab right to the head, which obviously I did not expect the car to then give me a right hook. So press it and push back to get a greater angle for a reclining room. It may feel unnatural to actually push back on it, but that's how it's intended to be. It's not a massive difference in the angle, but a helpful inclusion for sure. Getting someone to sit in the middle seat, the Model Y, is pretty acceptable too. For example, with my Model 3 prior, with the booster seats, it was indeed difficult, and it was just another reason we actually jumped to the Model Y. And I mean, my mother, she is around 5 foot, and she actually struggled to fit comfortably between 2 car seats. Not that she would ever admit to that, but it was quite easy to read the room. The Model Y, on the other hand, you can fit my wide ass. Let's see if I can get a better angle of this. The Model Y, on the other hand, can fit my wide ass in between. And that's the result the internet does not need to know. That benchmark's called the AAA test. I'll let you work that out. The ISOFIX is in the crevice of the seat if you do have one of the compatible car seats. Whereas the seatbelt buckles I was referring to earlier, they actually are located at the side of the passenger, then directly behind the passenger, like other alternatives. For example, my Model 3 prior had this design, and as a hands-on experience, what I've actually found is the kids do actually buckle up much quicker because of this buckle design. And it's just a small detail, but it's a much more child-friendly approach, and that physically translates into a quicker buckle up time. As this is an electric vehicle, we also have the benefit of having no transmission lump here in the middle seat footwell. So instantly, this middle seat passenger now gets its own footwell space. There is no need for them to share that passenger footwell with the other 2 rear passengers. Maybe that does then help avoid a sibling squabble, maybe it doesn't. But it makes for sliding from one side of the car much easier. This isn't just for the benefit of kids, as it becomes less of an effort for older users too. The ones that don't like to lift their feet up when walking too much. Other noteworthy features that you need to know about the rear passenger seats is that you get an armrest with 2 cup holders, and the door pockets also are big enough to hold a drinks bottle too, and more. But one thing you should invest in if this is going to be your family car of choice without a doubt, is to buy yourself some 4D mats like my Jawa ones. These are waterproof and effective against spillages. They fit seamlessly around the footwells, including up to the edges. And if you buy directly from Jawa, they currently give you a free tissue box dispenser and an air cover mesh. And effectively, all this is going to do for you is literally just reduce the time spent cleaning the rear of your car out, for which you can see the mess here is evidence that this is actually used as a family car. But for me, my son plays football, and that alone will pay dividends in the future, as I'll be able to instantly wash dry or even wet mud over a carpet alternative that is provided by Tesla. If you are interested in obtaining the same mats, there's actually a dedicated link and an exclusive discount code in the video description if you want to opt for a pair. Moving on to the drivability of the Tesla Model Y. Well, despite its SUV size, it certainly does move. Even the rear-wheel drive Tesla Model Y, it doesn't feel sluggish like some petrol or diesel variants can do. The best way to describe it is it simply just glides and it complies. With its gearless experience, this means that the torque is instant and the traction even on the rear-wheel drive Model Y is extremely good. If you do live in super wintry climates though, you may want to actually purchase the dual motor long range for added traction, or you could get hold of some winter tyres for the rear-wheel drive variant. But here in miserable England, it's still practical even in the winter time. But an embedded handling advantage that this car actually has is that it's got a low centre of gravity thanks to its battery pack design. So cornering in this SUV feels incredibly grounded for the everyday user, remembering that we do drive safely around the streets and not in track mode with the family. So what I'm trying to portray here from experience is that this SUV is simply no slouch. It's nippy, handles like a boss, as Bjorn would say. If you know, you know. Another anticipated comment will be about road trips. And in 2024, road trips are far less of a concern for the Tesla Model Y rear-wheel drive. I took mine out on a 350-mile road trip just the other week with the whole family, whilst being fully stacked with luggage. And the end result was that the charging session was far quicker than anticipated. We actually went from 45% to 85% in about 18 minutes, I believe. And I put a video link on the screen now if you want to have a bit more detail into that session. But in a nutshell, 10 to 80% should be done in just over 27 minutes. However, I found out with that session quoted before that the charging speeds were actually much quicker than actually anticipated, at least for me. Anyway, there's new supercharger stations opening up weekly all around the country, along with other usable charging stations. Finding rapid charging options is so much easier and will only get easier with the length of ownership. However, just day to day, over 90% of the time, you are going to be charging your car from home if you have off-road parking. But supercharging is quick, and even quicker if you do opt for the long range or performance variants. And I'll actually tag one of my favorite videos explaining the differences in the charging speed and how that affects you in real time. Moving on to the entertainment. This is probably the best entertainment system that you'll find in any car, period. If you do know of a better native system, drop it in the comments below, as I'm all ears. I'm pretty convinced. The user experience is super snappy, as it should be. You don't want any lag whilst you're driving, or even when you're not driving. The system also has a variety of ever-growing third-party apps. So we're talking about Spotify, Apple Music, to Netflix and YouTube, as you can see here. You'll probably use one of the music streaming services like Spotify when you're on the go and driving, or you can also use Audible if audiobooks are your thing. Probably best if I leave the karaoke for just the dull road trip. I wouldn't want to bless your eardrums right now, as a young Tom Jones said, no one ever. But the video streaming services and the native games, which you can find just here, these services actually come into play when you're waiting around for someone you're picking up, or even if you're actually at the supercharger. But even then, by the time you actually go to the toilet and you've queued for your coffee, it's literally done charging. There's literally little messing around with supercharging these days. There's also a lot of interesting software features that lay in a settings system that go beyond entertainment, that help with everyday family needs. I just want to highlight here Joe mode. This will help with babies when it comes to bings and bongs that go off inside the car. That's then going to be dimmed, and there's nothing worse than hearing baby James wake up. There's also Sentry mode and dashcam that records footage of your car when you need it most. From personal experience, it's helped me in insurance claims on my Model 3, so I know that it generally does work. Another feature that you want to throw in here you may not have considered is Tesla's free autopilot system. If you are on the motorway or freeway, whatever you want to call it where you are, this will be your third eye on the road. So it will apply adaptive cruise control and it should steer and stay in your lane while activated. And I've become so confident in this ability that I do use it all the time on the motorway. And whilst you are in full control of the car, you need to remain focused for those edge case circumstances. Ultimately, it does help take some tension out of driving those long distances with family. And this means that old daddy bear or mommy bear can arrive at their destination, feeling a bit more revitalized and refreshed than without the system activated in the first place. And you're probably not going to match your kids' energy levels after that road trip, but feeling less groggy is something that we'd all welcome with open arms for sure. Tesla's own data also suggests that it should be safer to drive with autopilot on too. However, remembering this is just for motorway and highway circumstances. FSD or full self-driving is going to be more beneficial around the streets, and that's actually more featureful in the US. Outside the US, it probably isn't going to be worth considering until it delivers the same features. However, Q1 2025, we'll see if that's a reality. Moving on to another potential deal breaker is the storage requirements. So a family car wouldn't be a family car without the practical and suitable boot space. I'll mark on the screen now for the official rated storage capacity depending on the many different circumstances that you may require. But what does this all mean in practical terms? Well, in terms of the front, this can actually hold 2 booster seats quite comfortably. I do wonder if you could actually get a compact pushchair in the front, as the space is pretty deep. Anyhow, with this space being contained and with it being hard plastic, it's a very usable area for all sorts of scenarios. This boot, however, is pretty huge compared to what I've used to before. We've even got a 12-volt socket thing here, back with powered rear seats, which are up here. And we've also got storage compartments here and under the floor bit here. So this is textbook practical space, and combined with the powered hatchback boot, it really does trump sort of the saloon alternatives you may be looking at for practicality. Tesla did a really good visual comparison with suitcases of just how much you can actually haul with this car, for which it really is insightful just how much you can actually carry. Even in terms of door pockets and the center console, with a few additional organizational drawer additions, this can be practical as you want it to be. Simplistic but effective. Moving on to a staple found on all cars, the child lock and the window lock. But what does Tesla do that's completely different? Well, it's easily switched on and off via the screen. And I remember with my old car, you'd used to have to open the door and then actually physically look to see if the lock was on or off. But with this, you just toggle it on the screen. And it's the same if you've got a child seat in the front passenger seat here. If you need to turn the airbag on and off, you can just turn it on and off of the screen. Just super easy to see and check. So to conclude, if you are in the market for a new family car, the Tesla Model Y and even the rear-wheel drive Tesla Model Y is truly a great futuristic take on what a new family car should be. The ultimate SUV, you could say. You have safety at the heart of the design. You have software that gives you the functionality that helps make driving easier thanks to autopilot. It also provides new safety and functionality through free software updates. And these additions can actually include stuff such as, range increases to the vehicle, or even just your typical entertainment and streaming services. Then there is the variety of storage options around all the car, so much so the storage for all sorts of family junk, enough to admittedly use and then forget for many years. It's a car that I'm sure will stand the test of time with practicality and affordability. I mean, have you seen the latest finance offers such as 0% APR and promotional lease rates? Tesla has also reopened its referral program, meaning that if you were to purchase a Tesla Model Y using my referral link in the description of the video, you could get $1,000 or £1,000 off the list price if you use that link. But touching on my hands-on experience with this car, and particularly over the Model 3 that I had before, is that it offers more practicality and utility thanks to Tesla's SUV design. Primarily at this price point, along with current finance offers, I'd probably struggle to nominate anything other than this. So how did you find today's video? Are you still hesitant to buy a Tesla Model Y? If so, why? Do you have any other questions about the Tesla Model Y? Do let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to share the video with any friends or family that may find the video beneficial. You folks have been great, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao. He's not going to wake up.